Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm continuing my Jupiter through the houses series in Synastry. In this video, which was requested, not surprisingly, as the 8th house is a pretty popular topic, we're going to talk about Jupiter falling into the 8th house in Synastry, so your Jupiter falling into partner's 8th house or their Jupiter falling into your 8th house in Synastry. Now, wherever Jupiter falls in the Synastry chart, wherever Jupiter falls in the Synastry chart, it's generally going to be a beneficial thing because Jupiter is the great benefic, and it definitely has a more positive influence on wherever it falls than perhaps the other planets. Although we will talk about some of the more difficult parts of this, but usually wherever Jupiter goes is a pretty welcome place because Jupiter is a pretty positive energy. It's kind of like the most positive energy planet, really, out of all of the planets, because Jupiter represents the higher mind, wisdom, our faith, our also where we're really naturally gifted at without even trying. And when we focus on that areas, we usually feel joy and become successful. So when our Jupiter is falling into someone's 8th house, this is bringing a huge influence to their very deep emotional self. So depending on the contents of that 8th house and what planets are in there, what sign this is in, this could be a very soothing, deep, healing, intimate relationship. But the 8th house person could at times be triggered by the Jupiter person. Depending on how familiar they are with the 8th house. The 8th house is a very vulnerable place, even more so than the 12th house, which is mostly unconscious to us. So we don't even know what's going on over there. It's emotional, but we're just not quite sure how to put our finger on it. But the 8th house is like, we are aware, but it can feel very vulnerable and scary, and even like sometimes people can feel a little bit ashamed of what's in the 8th house. It's like secretive, and it's a deep emotional desire to have the contents of our 8th house fulfilled. So when someone's Jupiter is falling there, it's pretty hard to not feel emotional in this relationship. So Jupiter tends to bring things up in a big way. It's not a very subtle planet. It's definitely, with its more Sagittarian characteristics, really like, it's like Jupiter's dropping a bomb in the 8th house person's 8th house, and a sunny, shining bomb, potentially. But it's definitely very activating. It could feel potentially triggering for the 8th house person, but it actually, because it's Jupiter, and the way that I said that Jupiter is a beneficial energy to whatever house it's falling in, right? In your own natal chart, but also when in a partner's chart. So usually the type of healing and transformation, because this is the house of transformation, that's going to come from having someone's Jupiter in your 8th house is going to be beneficial for you, and it's going to be more soothing and more not gentle. Gentle is not the right word, but it's like you're able to look at the contents of your 8th house in a way where you don't feel ashamed, you don't feel as nervous, say, with other planets falling in your 8th house. Now, Jupiter is not necessarily a sexual planet. That's not really what this is about, even though the 8th house is a very sexual house because of the desires and the passion and the hidden secret desires of ourselves that come through the 8th house and also the 12th house. But in this case, it can activate the 8th house person's like sexual nature for sure, but that's not the main theme of this relationship. It's actually more about healing and growth and really bringing to light. Jupiter has this effect of bringing to light in the most positive way the contents of that eighth house. So like if there's already sexual planets in the eighth house, person's eighth house, like let's say they have natal Mars in the eighth house or Venus in the eighth house or something, and then Jupiter is coming to conjunct it, then this is going to be a hugely sexual energy. But if there aren't planets like that in the eighth house, it doesn't have to necessarily be steamy sexual. Jupiter is more about growth and learning, and the Jupiter person can really teach the house person a lot about how to deal with these deeper emotions and feelings that they have that maybe they can feel a bit ashamed of it sometimes. So the Jupiter person would be an excellent like therapist, or there also is like financial implications of the eighth house as well. The second and eighth houses have a financial energy, so Jupiter can definitely make the eighth house person aware of the resources that they do have or they want to have, and so there can definitely be a wealth increase in this relationship when someone's Jupiter is falling into your eighth house, because Jupiter is bringing that positive energy here and expanding the eighth house person. So the eighth house person could really realize more of their own wealth, or not just financial wealth, although financial wealth is inherently like part of that, but it could also be like spiritual wealth and soul wealth from the wisdom in this interaction. So Jupiter is activating all of that. I have seen one interpretation of this, and actually my favorite Synastry book, Planets in Synastry, where he tends to have a more negative description of certain placements, where he said that the house person, I believe, could feel used in this relationship, like, because the energy of Jupiter, it's not like a compatible match to the eighth house. Like Jupiter's energy is so outward, like I said, it's so not subtle, right? And then the eighth house is like this, more inward, very sensitive point in our chart. So he was saying that like this overlay is inherently uncomfortable. Now, I disagree, like that this is uncomfortable, but I would say that it's less natural for Jupiter to fall here. It's like bringing Jupiter's energy in a more like subtle way, like in a more deeper emotional way than Jupiter is likely used to. Unless Jupiter is in Scorpio or Cancer or Pisces or one of the water signs, then this is going to be very natural, I think. But it's definitely an interesting one in that the way that the eighth house contents are being brought up is, like I said, it's kind of like a bomb being brought up there in the eighth house, and that could be uncomfortable. It's definitely an interesting one, but I wouldn't go so far to say that like this is a negative encounter, because I really don't believe that. And the Jupiter person, I think, and the house person are more likely to benefit financially than someone feeling used. But of course, when we're dealing with these emotional houses, specifically the 8th and the 12th, there is always that potential that someone's going to get hurt, because when feelings are brought up, I mean, most humans are not mature to handle like what they actually feel without numbing, and so when we have these relationships that trigger us and in our sensitive points, like our 8th and 12th house, there's always that potential for hurt feelings or someone feeling used or whatever, right? But I think overall, with this overlay of Jupiter falling into the 8th house here, it's probably one of the more likely to be mostly positive interactions out of the planets, any planets falling into someone's 8th house. Jupiter brings benefits. So what else? So the Jupiter person can definitely feel like the house person is kind of a mysterious person. They definitely make them think about things in a deeper way. They could even kind of see the house person as sort of like a genius, or like this incredibly deep person, right? And so that's an interesting undertone to this. But I really feel like this one can bring a lot of comfort to the eighth house person, because where Jupiter falls, Jupiter is kind of like a fatherly energy. But it's more like the warm and enthusiastic father rather than like the critical father of Saturn. It's yeah, there's a lot of potential for the eighth house person to really gain a deeper understanding of their inner workings, of their emotional nature, their sex drive, their internal resources, and when they really can get a greater understanding of that, they can become more powerful. So I think this aspect is one of like a power couple. And like you wouldn't necessarily think Jupiter falling into the water houses in Synastry would be like the power couple energy, but I feel like it is, because when someone brings their Jupiter into your feeling places, you have this great opportunity to look at that. And actually, you're forced to look at that. That's like what I've said. Like when it's Jupiter, this is not subtle. Like you have to be in your eighth house, because there is no ignoring the bountiful energy of Jupiter. So there's this great potential for it to be like a power couple energy, because the eighth house person is being strengthened in this very powerful place. So it's a really interesting one. It is a little bit unnatural. Like the Jupiter person might feel like the eighth house person is a bit secretive and like, deep and intense, and like their energies are just used in a different way, depending on their natal Jupiter and how like Sagittarian it is, or how strong it is. But it's definitely a good one for spiritual growth and uncovering a lot of hidden mysteries in your own psyche. And yeah, I think that it's definitely a powerful one. It's not so like steamy sexual unless you've already got other sexual planets there. But it definitely can bring a sexual energy, just because of the depth and the like meaningfulness that this relationship feels like. It that can be very intimate and very deep, and so the bonding could create the sexual feeling with this overlay. So yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this one. Was it like this at all? Was it not like this? Yeah, another important thing about the financial increase that could happen with this one. That's why it's another reason why it could be like a power couple vibe. Yeah, so thanks for watching, you guys, and let me know your requests. This video was requested. I'm doing your requests. I have a long list, and I just look at them when I'm going to make videos, and I pick from them. So yeah, thanks, you guys, and we'll talk soon. Bye.